Well, Edie, it's good to hear that you're feeling well and that Lindsay looks good and everything seems pretty good. We're ready to go for another book show with people with all kinds of books and miniature books and stories to tell. Alan, what kind of story do you have to tell us today? Anything useful?
We have a great show this week. I am very excited. We of course we want to welcome Edie, the queen of miniature books. There she is, and she's in her element because one of our guests today is Todd Sommerfeld of the Miniature Book Society. Todd's been on before, and we're very excited to have him. Also coming up, we will have Felix Owen in Ireland, and Felix has some interesting new things to show us. A new shop. So we're going to get to visit the shop while we're here. I want to say hi to Thorne in
hello,
down in Jupiter, Florida, and I want to say hi to Lindsay Thompson in Chester, South Carolina. We were talking just before the show, and it's clear that it has become that we might actually see some winter coming, or at least some cooling off fall coming. It has been so hot and so humid here in St. Petersburg that we were. It's hard to believe, but we were begging for cool weather.
I believe you.
Better move to Ireland, Felix says from backstage, and he'll be doing that here shortly. You're right. In Ireland, you've got very, very nice temperatures right now, don't you? Today is Saturday, November 2nd, 2019. There are 174 days left until the next Florida Antiquarian Book Fair, which is April 24th through the 26th in 2020. This is the Rare Book Cafe, the book lovers' rendezvous. Our topics are priceless, and our conversation is free. We're a virtual cafe available anywhere in the world, and we are proving that today because we have Felix Owen in Ireland, and we have listeners watching us from all over the world, and we appreciate that. We appreciate our viewers who join us live. We also appreciate our viewers who join us on the replay. If you're on any other channel other than the Rare Book Cafe channel on Facebook, know that we can't see your live comments. We'll look for your comments later on, but we can't see them now. But if you want to participate in a live conversation, come on over to the Rare Book Cafe page on Facebook, and you'll be able to type in your comments, and we'll be able to see them and respond to them. So we have, as I mentioned, we have a full show today with a lot of exciting things. And I want to start with Lindsay, who's been looking at some of the things that we've published on the Rare Book Cafe page over the last week. And he's going to give us a recap of some of those items that you may have missed, or that you may have just totally enjoyed.
Well, thank you, Alan. One of the things we like to do is from time to time remind our viewers that not only do we have great shows like today with a room full of real experts who were giving of their time, but we also have lots and lots of information on the Rare Book Cafe page, gleaned from literally hundreds of sources that I look at every week. And so there's some things I'll mention are there. Other things are just things that have happened. There's a couple of new things I want to mention to you. First of all, and most important, I think, in literary history, today is the 59th anniversary of the acquittal of Penguin Books against charges of obscenity for publishing D.H. Lawrence's novel Lady Chatterley's Lover in 1960. The prosecutor's office made up of men with hyphenated names and striped trousers, got wind that the book was going to come out and got a copy. They were horrified because the standard review for an obscene book in Britain in those days was whether it would cause a 14-year-old schoolgirl to blush. So this one was just off the charts for the Attorney General, who immediately sent out one of his assistants to sign up Rudyard Kipling, the great British Nobel laureate in literature, as an expert against the book, only to discover that Kipling had been dead for 24 years. The trial took 6 days. The jury only took 3 hours to deliberate and declared the book perfectly readable. And Penguin Books, in a paperback edition, sold for 3 shillings and 6 pence, sold 3 million copies in the UK over the next 3 months. So that's always, that really opened the floodgates against the old establishment ways in English-speaking countries of suppressing literature. And there are people who object to it even now. Over at abe.com, our friend Richard Davis has a podcast that goes up from time to time. And their current iteration of it features an interview with Shane Sheehy of the Movable Book Society, which those of you who remember our guests, several of them who deal in pop-up books, this is a fascinating and collectible field going back 150 years, a field of great artistry and hand-built books. And so this is a fascinating interview with one of the leading professional groups in that area. You can go to abebooks.com/blog and just click listen. Our friend Amber Sheehan up at biblio.com in Asheville, North Carolina, where they're actually getting a little dusting of snow this weekend. She also has a blog, and this week she put up some Halloween fare, including an article on another topic that I know Steve has always found fascinating, anthropodermic bibliophagy, or books bound in human skin. And so Amber has the story of that and how there are not many, but they are memorable to see. And it's a fascinating little turn in the history of rare books. That is one of the many reasons to go look at Biblio and their website as well. Biblio and Abe are both sponsors of the book fair. And so we always look forward to following the fascinating information they share. This week I found at Christie's, the auction house in New York and London, they're having on the 27th of November a big collection of Slavic and Russian works, both fictional and liturgical, something like 600 lots in this collection will be going up. A lot of Gogol and early Russian writers, Turgenev. Looks like it'll be a fascinating and highly profitable auction. A site I found recently in Philadelphia is called Bibliotheca Philadelphiensis, and they call it Bibliophilly for short. It's a collaboration between all of the great universities in the Philly area to upload and make available 160,000 pages of European medieval and early codices. And all of this material, which is pretty much up now, is freely downloadable under a common license. So if you just go to Bibliotheca Philadelphiensis on the internet, you'll be able to find that and look at all the beautiful books of ours and other types of materials they have. And then finally, I found a completely new site today called artcrime.blogspot.com. It's a group, the Association for the Review and Study of Art Crime. And basically they have a pretty encyclopedic grasp of and report on all forms of art crime, forgeries, thefts of every mode of art production, from paintings to books. if you go to art-crime.blogspot.com, this is a site I think you'll want to bookmark. It certainly is one that I have, because the book crime beat is one that we have found fascinating here on the cafe for several years. And so with that, I'm going to get out of the way, because we have people lined up like planes over O'Hare Airport, experts waiting to touch down in the cafe and tell us all kinds of neat stuff. So thank you, Alan, and put me away.
Thank you so much, Lindsay. That was an excellent report. And now what we want to do is go on to Edie, because I know Edie has some fascinating things to talk about miniature books. But in addition to that, of course, we're going to bring her friend and colleague in just a moment. But let's switch to Edie first, and then we'll bring in Todd Sommerfeld of the Miniature Book Society.
Thank you, Alan. I appreciate that so much. And I'm going to go a little short today, because we do indeed have wonderful people as our guests with Felix and Todd, really true extraordinary experts. But I did want to say that this week I received from Karen Nyman her catalog. Karen Nyman's catalog, which if you Googled her name, you could pull up her catalog, and it is extraordinary. I wrote to her this morning that I was going to be talking about it on the show today. Her catalog will give you the publisher, the title, the author, the year, the place it was published, the number of copies, the binding, a marvelous professional description of the book, its height and its width, and the price. And you can get this with her, with the illustrations of a lot of the items that are in the catalog. It is without a learning tool. And if you have never seen her works, you really want to Google this online and take a look at her catalog online, and her extraordinary knowledge and presentation is absolutely phenomenal. I keep one, or I wrote to her today, put them all in alphabetical order and print out a price guide of miniature books, of which there are none. And I said, I'll be the first one to want to buy one. One of the things that she has featured are some old Scotch songs for $160. It was done in 1900s. That is a finger book, and she gives you a full page description of what this is, the history of the writer, the history of the publisher. Where I am the queen of miniature books, she certainly would be the empress with her knowledge. And Todd, with his extraordinary knowledge of miniature books, is just wonderful. I also wanted to show Peter Piper Press in Philadelphia had put this book out a long time ago. It is not a miniature, but everybody knows Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, etc., etc. However, this has every letter of the alphabet, and in every letter of the alphabet, they have a little printing of another little limerick like that, which I absolutely love. So when I saw it at Peter Piper Press, I had to have it. It was done in Philadelphia. I'm a Philadelphia girl. And even though this is a copy of the original, I had to have it. I buy things that I love. And when I see something like that, like in Karen's catalog, it's Yes, Virginia, There Is a Santa Claus. And she's got a miniature book that I noticed this morning that I just might have to get for mine. Other things that I'll get, which are very apropos now, Old Age Ain't for Sissies. And I'll tell you, the older you get and the more medical challenges you have, I like things that I like to read and have fun. For the next time I'm on, I'm going to talk about the little golden books. I've talked about that in the past. And I have 3 different series of the golden books that were put out by Walt Disney. So I'm going to discuss those. I also want to tell people to watch out for things like this. This is a very lightweight, extremely lightweight ruler. So if you have this on your keychain and you're out and you want to know the dimensions of something, this is going to be, I found this at the yard sale the other day. This will be on my keychain. And I absolutely love it. And our 2 guests today are 2 of my favorite people in the book world. Todd, I just can't say enough about your site. To read about him, to read about what he collects, what he does, and the fact that he shares the traveling miniature book exhibit in the United States and was kind enough to let us have it last year at the Florida Antiquarian Book Fair in St. Petersburg. Mwah, Todd, I love you. Now, of course, Todd has hair that he's growing on his chin. I'm letting my hair grow.
Thank you.
Lindsay is letting more of his hair grow, and Stephen is now doing something with his hair. There must be something in the air.
It's a trend. It's a trend across the country.
And Alan has his hat.
And I want to give you and Todd an opportunity to talk a little bit. But before we do that, I want to give a quick shout out to Sophia, who has tuned in. Hello, Sophia. And to Dennis in Calgary, and to Kelly in Coventry, Rhode Island. And I want to invite anybody else who feels the urge to do it to sign in, let us know you're here, and to let us know where in the world you're watching from. And I also want to invite everybody to share this program. If you find this program interesting, share it with people who you know will have an interest in seeing the Rare Book Cafe and joining in the conversation on the Rare Book Cafe. With that, I'm going to run back to the green room and finish up the spaghetti. And gosh, wonder what will happen if we ever get a green room. But in any case, I'm going to run backstage and leave it to you folks to talk just a little bit.
Well, thank you, Alan. We'll miss you, and just don't eat all the spaghetti, because if there is a green room, somebody might come after you. But Todd, welcome. I think it'd probably be nice to have Edie and you have a bit of a chat here. I know of your background. I saw the wonderful exhibit you were kind enough to bring to the Florida Fair last year, our fair. And I understand from what Alan was saying, you also collect, you have your own collection. And
ever.
Yeah, maybe Edie, because you're more familiar with it rather than me kind of shuffling on through here. Why don't you guys talk about that collection?
Okay. Well, I don't know what really to say about it. I've been collecting for, about 35 years.
And what it is, it's extensive. And what you do, Todd, is that you share with people. Your kindness to be able to share with people is extraordinary. You've sent me a few little things over the years. And now what's going to happen in Tarrytown, New York, when the conclave goes there next year? I was amazed that they already picked the site and they're already working on it.
Yeah, I don't know what all is going to be involved. We are going to take a visit to the Hyde Park home of Franklin Roosevelt, who, of course, was a miniature book collector. And the majority of his miniature books were sold in the 1950s, but there were some that he collected earlier in his young adult years that got left behind at Hyde Park. So they've got a small library of miniature books there that we'll be able to see. And I believe we're going to go to the Longfellow home. But no, Washington Irving, I'm sorry. We'll be going to the Washington Irving home. Those are the two field trip type things that we'll do. But as always, there'll be bookmaking workshops or historical workshops, as well as a live auction and a silent auction and a Sunday book fair. The conclave is always a great time, and as a friend of mine is fond of saying, book people are just nice. So we have a nice weekend with nice people and great books.
Maybe this year we can get there. I'm hoping. I would love to go to a conclave.
If it would help, I'll twist your arm for you.
Okay, that sounds good.
I don't think it would take that much to get Edie there. I wanted to I know that earlier, before we were started, you, Todd, you and Felix were having an opportunity to share back and forth some of the miniature books that you have. I want to bring Felix in, and perhaps you can share some of those with our folks who are watching.
Yeah, I can go back to the bookshelf, sure. So we'll just walk out. I'm in the room that is becoming my bindery, and my son turned off all the lights. Yeah, I've got a spare bedroom now that is a book bindery, so I'm going to flip this around, and this is the shelf that I have set up because we're doing a little bit of. There's about 4,000 of them.
Wow.
A little bookcase there with. Those are all Mosaic Press. This little thing is interesting, a little piece of book art, and behind it, children's books in a box set with stuffed animals. This one here is one that actually came out of an English country estate. And if I can get it to work, it has, there it is. It'll be upside down, but can you see it there? It's a forage painting.
Lovely, Todd.
And that's 1820s. It's one of the Pickering classics. Here we have a late 19th century set of French children's books in the original silk brocaded armoire. Comes in with a beveled glass cover.
Wow.
This is a favorite. This here, the slipcase is a model of the Dard Hunter paper mill, and then it's got the books inside of it here. Dard Hunter, who of course was the 20th century. He worked for the Roycrofters, and he opened a studio in Chillicothe, Ohio. And this is one of the founding members of the Miniature Book Society.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and then you mentioned Little Golden books.
Yes.
I have an almost complete set of the Little Golden books, and just finished an article that will be in the upcoming issue, the Microbibliophile, on a little bit of the history and all the titles that they published. There were 72 in the regular series.
Well, initially,
that they published of the miniature ones.
Originally, Walt Disney didn't have his name on the cover. Then he had his name on the cover. Then it changed again. It changed 3 times. I'll show them with your article next time. That'll add to it, certainly. And how about you,
that'll be
Felix?
good. Yeah.
Do you have any miniature books there to make me drool over, Felix?
As you very well know, I do. Welcome to Doneraile in County Cork in Ireland. and to all my friends in the States and around the world, and in Ireland, of course. We've ventured into a new shop. I think you can see parts of it now. It's quite a big shop. I'm setting it up at the moment, so it'll be some weeks before it's up and running and ready, and I'll be online, and I'll be doing business online and business in the shop. I'm very excited about it. Edie, I have a couple of miniature books here for you. This is in, which I showed earlier on, this is in the original casing. It's called Gold Dust. 2 1-year volumes from late Victorian. Extremely nice. You can see. Can you see that?
Yes, I can. It's beautiful.
And it's, of course, it's a 2-volume set. The rare, of course, is having it in the original box. But it's beautiful gilt binding, beautifully done, which I've cleaned up, and it will be quite collectible. It's quite a lovely piece. And, of course, the original box that it comes with, which is rare and unusual, which I repaired, and it's now wonderfully all together. The next thing is an old Bible from 1792, which is here. Original binding on it. Beautiful little book. Stunning little book. Belongs to Mr. Jimmy O'Callaghan, wonderful man, and his wife Mary. It's in its original binding. He brought it in. I think it's absolutely gorgeous.
Looks in great shape.
Yes, I polished it up. It just needs a slight bit of repair, which I shall do. It's got the original end papers. It's a Book of Common Prayer and the Bible in English. And the Bible is complete. It's in remarkably very good state, which is very good. So it really doesn't need little or no work except just to tidy up the end piece here and basically keep it polished with beeswax, and it's fine. But in the coming weeks and the next shows, we have plenty of exciting books and magazines. We've a few thousand vintage magazines. We have thousands of books. I'm looking forward to I'm very excited about the shop, looking forward to its opening and continuing business for the coming years. Not just a year, but years. So,
how many hours are you working a day there, Felix?
I'll work whatever it takes. I get here 9:30 in the morning. I mean, I'm here, and it's still, in our time, it's 7 o'clock now, which is about, what, 3 o'clock in Florida?
Yes.
Yeah, but I love this, so time is not an issue for me, because when I'm with the collection, I just literally lost in the whole thing. This is a work of love.
How far is the shop from your home?
About 40 minutes in my car. 40 minutes, which is really nothing. I look forward to coming. It's wonderful. Of course, the town is quite famous. Doneraile does a number of great castles just nearby, which I was invited on Friday to go and visit a castle, which is only 10 minutes from the shop.
Oh, my goodness.
Their collection.
And what did you find there?
Well, no, I'm going next week.
Oh, my goodness. I just think, Todd, did you ever hear of any such thing in your whole life? He gets invited to castles to go.
Not in Ohio.
Not in Florida. Not in the United States. I don't know anywhere.
Yes. But the collection here is a wonderful collection. It's quite diverse. The British magazines, and I'll send over the link to the website, which I'm developing at the moment. Well, we got wonderful magazines of Vogue going back to 1892. I mean, they're stunning, all perfect, 3,000 magazines. And then there's the French magazines, all into war, before the war. Absolutely fantastic. Absolutely
what
fantastic.
Subjects?
Fashions. Old-fashioned.
The old-fashioned magazines.
Yes.
French.
Yes.
Stephen was just talking about them on his show earlier.
Right.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, I'll send you the link to the site, which is, I'm really looking forward to it, but I'll send you a direct link, and then you can see.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
You are amazing, Felix. I talk about you so often with love and kindness. And right now I'm going to put Stephen on because I know that he'll be interested in hearing about your fashion magazines.
Yeah, it's called jimmysvintagemagazines.com.
Okay, here we go.
Thanks. I'll send you over the link. And Todd, I love your collection. I'd love to see you. Have you got a website, Todd?
I do. It's basically got the books that I publish on it. If you are ever on Facebook, if you go to Booksby, Booksby Press.
Okay.
My Facebook page, I try to put something new up daily. Doesn't always work, but I cover the full spectrum of.
I can't hear you. You seem to be breaking up. It must be the weather or the leprechauns or the gremlins in the system.
The gremlins always jump in every time we come to Ireland.
I blame the leprechauns if that's the case. But you're all most welcome to Doneraile, and all the book lovers are all welcome to the shop and to see the collection and talk and whatever. Have coffee or whatever.
I should let everyone know that there's a little slight delay in all of the actions. The internet gremlins are just holding on to things, and so very shortly we should be able to hear Todd once again. But in any case, there we go. We have Todd back now. And Todd, I know you had some other things that you wanted to show us as well.
Okay.
I think he's broken away again.
Oh, I could show you what I'm working on currently as a publisher. This is my newest.
Oh, excuse me.
And tell us.
Am I on?
Yes, you are. Tell us about that.
Can you hear me or see me?
Yeah,
I can see you and hear you, Todd.
Oh, okay. So this is my current book. It was a book that my youngest son, he wrote the story, and I hired an English gal to illustrate it, and I did all the bookbinding. So there's the new technology we're using is gold stamping on the cover. They're gilt. The end pages we did. It's signed by the author in the front and signed by the binder in the back. There's the title page, and then it's illustrated. It's a little Christmas story. So that's the book that I am most recently working on. I also have a series of little keepsakes that I've made. They're little books that I've done one a year for actually the Miniature Book Society Conclave. And this one is from 2 years ago. They're just little pamphlet-bound booklets. And then I've done other books. I think Edie has this. Toad Loves to Read. It's a photo storybook of a toad that used to come to my back door and just visit with us. It was the oddest thing. I started taking pictures, and it turned into a storybook. Other than that, on my Facebook page, I talk about the history of miniature books and my adventures in publishing. I just like to keep it fun. It's what I enjoy, and I hope other people enjoy it too. If there's other types of things you'd like to see, I could show you. I have developed a, where is it? Here we go. This here is an exhibit I put together that I take when I am promoting the Miniature Book Society. It's just got a brief history. This one here is a 18th century thumb Bible. This here's got a sterling silver binding. These are some of the smallest books when they were published in the world. So I do various different things.
Hello, Steve.
Hey, good to see you.
And
Felix, Todd, Alan.
not sure what else you may want to know about. I could.
Well, that was excellent. That was a good
hello.
visit.
From start to finish.
You have to forgive me. I've got a blank screen right now.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It
should come. You should come back shortly, but
Awesome.
In the meantime, Stephen is coming in, and as I say, everything is running just a little bit slow. It's not certain why, except that we definitely need to blame it on the internet gremlins, because they're to blame. It's clear to me that they are to blame. So in a moment, as we're waiting, I think you may be able to hear Stephen. So go ahead, Stephen.
Sure, Todd, from start to finish, how long does it take you to put together like a copy of your son's miniature book?
Well, if I work on it consecutively and I don't break off and allow life to intervene, that book took about 3 months to put together completely, from the time I got the story and decided how to design it. And I contacted a friend that I made over the internet. She lives in England, and a young girl that had never really illustrated a book before. So I worked with her, and I worked with her to develop how the pages would be laid out, and we ended up with 11 illustrations. And then I worked with a relative who is a graphic artist to lay out the text and the illustrations. And then I print them on the computer, and I finish up by hand binding them. That's my favorite part of doing the book.
I can't tell if you're saying that facetiously or not.
Oh no, the bookbinding is what I love.
No, I was what I mean. Okay, so when you start that and you've got the components together, how long would it take you to assemble the physical copy? One copy.
Oh, okay, just bookbinding.
Yeah, you got the components, and now you're just slipping the dust jacket on it. What's the process time for you to bind the book? To put everything together. I presume you have you've made the covers. The covers are made, but now you're attaching everything. So I'm curious about that time-wise.
Yeah, I mean, I can do a run of 24 books in about 2 weeks.
Very good.
From printing them, trimming out the pages, sewing, gluing, building the cover, and binding it all together. About 2 weeks for a set of 24.
Wow.
Quite good. Yeah,
that's an interesting statistic. So have you been feeling...
Yeah, I mean, it's...
I'm sorry. Go ahead. No, go ahead, Don.
No, you're fine.
Well, I was just curious what the labor time is. I mean, we all call what we do a labor of love. So we're not putting in, how can you say, you're not putting an hour per dollar or something like that on it. But
I don't punch a clock for sure.
Yeah. I mean, what we're doing, what we love. I was just professionally curious as to how long. Yeah, and you presented it perfectly. 24 in a 2 week period. So Felix, I've got to ask, I missed in the beginning. I saw some of it when I was watching on my phone. Where are you right now? Are you in the office or in the house?
In Doneraile, in County Cork. I'm in the shop we've taken over. You can see the shop.
Wow. How many?
I'm slowly bringing in 400 to 500 boxes of books are slowly coming in. I've also got a big area in the back, and I got another area here. And then, of course, I got a fully pledged coffee and teas and everything over there.
Well, and your ground floor. I think I saw windows in one shot.
Yes, the windows are the front window onto the street. So we're on the main street, right outside the biggest attraction in Ireland, which is Doneraile Park, the #1 attraction. 760,000 visitors a year.
Wow.
And you can Google it. It's quite a famous. So you can get to see the collection, if you can see everything there.
Wow. What are your neighbors? What are your retail neighbors? What next to you? Or are you free? Are you freestanding?
Well, I'm at yes. Well, the shop is at a corner, and then there's a laneway, and then there's a garage next door. But there's a lovely cafe here. But what's famous here is the park across the street. As I said, it's quite a famous house. I sent some images to Alan. I've sent images of the great estate that's here. And the St. Ledger is the estate, one of the most famous families here in Ireland, Anglo families. And the other family, of course, are the Astors. This is a fantastic horse area, wealthy area, lovely little town, very quaint Irish town. And of course, the big estate, as I said, is stunning.
Will you do this on your own, or will you be hiring? What kind of hours are you planning for this shop?
Well, well, my love of books will have me work 24 hours a day if I could do it. But I love books, as you very well know. I'll take whatever hours it needs to get it done, because it will be success. I'm doing an online, in addition to the shop, I'm running an online business here, which will all link up. It'll take me a few weeks to set it up. But we're getting a lot of foot traffic, a lot of people coming by. They're excited. There's an old bookstore, because the day of bookstores have disappeared. There's no longer quaint bookstores you go in. I want this place to step back in time to 1800. I'm going to set it up this way. And I'll have the books and everything with it.
And have you had the official opening, or?
No, but I will in a few weeks. We will have a wonderful official opening. I'll do it live. I'll have lots of friends come by, and lots of people come by. Yeah, we got enough space to do it, and we'll have an official open. It'll be a few weeks. I want to try and open before Christmas, but the fact that we're here, people are noticing we're here. Word is getting out, which is very important. And the internet, the internet is up and running. I just have a few more things to sort out, like the accounts and stuff where people can pay, because I got a lot of inquiries on them. The magazines, as I told you, there's about 3,000 vintage magazines in addition. Vogue going back to 1892 and stuff like that.
Was any conflict within you, the collector, that never? I mean, we know what you have and the way you've talked over the last few years, but you are now going from I don't sell to I've got an open store. So how do you feel about that?
Well, the store is not mine. I'm part of the business. I'm very generous, and I'm thrilled to be asked to participate. I think it's an exciting adventure. I think it'll do very, very well. Remember, here in Ireland, there's a lot of books, a lot of rare books here. There's a lot of stuff to be discovered. I've recently found a lot of vintage books, not vintage books, but miniature books. And I found I have some more here, and I'm discovering more all the time. But besides that, there's a lot of great old books. There's a lot of vintage books, a lot of vintage magazines. So I'm excited with the shop, because I never really had a formal shop. And I've done everything online, or kept it in my house and didn't sell it, which is very well known. I'm famous for not selling. But I'm excited. Yeah. It's a new excitement for me. And incidentally, I bind as well. I got a complete bindery in my house. I got the original binding equipment, going back quite a few hundred years, because all binding is done by hand. And of course, I got the original presses and everything else, as you've seen in my house umpteen times. I have actually some up in the window at the moment. So I love binding. Binding is something I love. I source all the original material I can get. I use original material as best I can, particularly in antiquarian books. And books have to be cared and loved. And I love books and care for books. And so in effect, I run a book for hospitals. That's exactly what I do.
I'm sure you're going to get a lot of. If people come in, will you personally do repairs, or who are some of the other people that are involved in the shop? Somehow, I don't have you pegged as a guy like myself that is going to be stuck in a store. You know, my sign used to read, "Always call first. I'm there when I'm not supposed to be, and not there when I should be." So, who's ringing up the register? Have you got it? I mean, the other people involved with the staff.
Well, no. There's a few people there's two others are involved. I mean, it will work. It just takes us time to work out the ground rules. And
I have no question in my mind that it will work. Okay, it's that contradiction of selling and keeping that, you know. But you know, you've got such phenomenal stuff. Todd, I don't know if you're familiar with some of the earlier episodes we've had with Felix, but he finds stuff over there that we only dream about here. I mean, you know, the way we find newspaper, he finds old vellum documents. You know, it's just amazing. You have got the most amazing potential in inventory. I am really curious. I wish I could occasionally just have a camera and watch what goes on once you're up and running.
Yeah, you can.
I can do it from live here. I can, as I'm putting stuff out of boxes, I can talk through everything you like. I mean, it's there. It's fantastic.
There'll be a weekly segment from Felix's store.
Oh, well, come to
Yes.
Playhouse.
I show you the wonders of the collection that's here. And also, you know, the store will attract people. I recently had a visitor on Friday from a castle, only 10 minutes from here, because the store is here. And they have a collection they want me to be involved in. So,
of course they do.
Come and sell the stuff to us, or I get to see it and make an offer for it, which enters the store.
I'm so glad you're here. I didn't know there was a store, and I'm so glad you're here. Could you come over and?
Can I be your international franchise man for the second or third store?
Of course you can. There's a lot of American stuff here as well. By the way, there's a lot of American publications here.
I want, if I was there, I'd want to see what you're looking at. I've seen enough of what's here.
Todd, do you have a store, or have you had a store? A bricks and mortar?
Todd,
I don't know if he heard you. Have you had a store, Todd? Was that what you were asking, Alan?
Yeah. Me?
Yeah.
You have a store now?
No. I'm a collector. No, I don't. I will sell at book fairs very occasionally, but only duplicates to my collection. To devote to that, so I buy what pleases me or what fits in my collection. But you want one book and they've got a lot of 5, and so you have to take the 4 that you're not looking for. And so I set up occasionally for the Cleveland Book Fair, and I do the Miniature Book Society Book Fair every year at the Conclave. But other than that,
is there a secret
I'm
desire?
not terribly interested in selling.
That answers the question.
That's sort of.
I mean,
that's been Felix's operation for quite a while.
I mean, I wouldn't mind it.
I'm just a book dealer who's.
I do make my own and sell them.
I will be selling here. Make no mistake about it. Our collection here is for sale. Great collection. We got a lot of interest.
Yeah,
Store will allow a lot of people to come in. But allow people with books, they don't know where to go with it, to bring it here and sell to us, or me visiting other castles.
You being in a tourist area, I mean, you'd probably have to build some kind of ironclad plexiglass James Bond couldn't get in it booth. But with what you have, like the Bible and Shakespeare folio and things like that, you could put a little museum in the corner and charge for it. Today we're going to turn page.
Actually, I know a bookseller who has done that, who has set up a museum in the back. There's books in front for sale and a museum in the back. And that'll be a $5 donation, please.
And that's in fact, I found some Bibles. They're down here, which I haven't gone through yet. Early English Bibles from, I think, 1700 or 1600, some of them. So I got to sort them out yet, English Bibles. But I put them here out of the way, out of the boxes for safety. So I'll get to see them in time and sort them out.
Okay. Did you find anything? Are you done with everything that was in that warehouse?
No. I've got 400 boxes to go through yet.
Okay. Did anything pop out that is, everything is wonderful, but I mean, you know what I'm saying, an absolutely phenomenal something, or did something come up that you've got in a corner waiting to research, where it was all known quantities per se?
Well, there's a lot of unusual. He was some of the stuff is to do with art. So there's a lot of wonderful catalogs there. But I mean, there's two wonderful books over there, for example. These two golden ones here. This is by a guy called Doré, Gustav Doré.
Oh yeah.
And the first one is, the blue one is Spain, which is exceptionally rare with all the plates in it. That was a great find. And the other one is Don Quixote, which of course is quite a famous. The illustrations are astounding in this. These
also Doré in that.
Yes, that's a total Doré. And then there's other Doré books there, which is an idea to what's here. There's lots of great stuff that's extraordinary that I've been finding. And look at this chair. This is made by James O'Callaghan when he was 14 years of age. That chair. That is the most fantastic thing I have seen in furniture.
What year?
14-year-old boy. It's stunning.
How old?
He only a few years old. Maybe about, I'd say, 10 years old or something. But he was 14 when he made it.
Oh my!
No, but when was it made? I'm missing the date of origin.
Oh, about 10 years ago, about 2000.
Oh, is that okay? I got it. Okay.
No, it's fantastic. I couldn't believe it. When I saw it, it looks like something from the Art Deco period.
It does, doesn't it?
At the beauty of
it. Yeah, that's why it was
beautifully done. I want to invite our watchers to ask questions if you have questions, and of course, if anybody in the green room would like to jump in here with some questions, we're certainly happy to have you do that. So just give me a high sign and let me know, and we certainly can do that. But again, everybody who's out in the world there, who's watching, either watching now or watching on replay, you're welcome to ask questions. If you ask questions on replay, Felix or Todd will have to answer them later. They will not be answering them now if you watch it on replay, but they will watch live in-person questions. And so if you have those, by all means, put them in the comments, and we will get to them.
And a shout out to Jerry Morris, as I see he is here also with us.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what do you have? You got a lot of work left to get ready for your opening, Felix. What are the next steps?
Well, each day I'll come in, other than Sunday. I shall come in and I'll do as much as I can. The thing is unpacking, see the books are, cataloging the books, the script of the books, cleaning some of the books, small repairs on some of the books, finding a common evaluation of the book, the importance of the book, and then putting it up on the internet or wherever, and or in the shop, and find places that would buy it. This is the idea. So I'm looking forward to that. I'll use a lot of contacts to do so. You can see the wonderful stuff. Shakespeare's folios are here in not the miniature, but they're quite good. But not quite the first folio, but certainly the edition.
Felix, do you have hotels near you?
Yes.
Are there hotels in your area?
This is Ireland. This area, there's plenty of great hotels nearby.
Well, the reason I'm asking is to give you just a little idea of something. the concierge, usually they have a rack of cards and stuff in there. You should make sure that the concierges know that you are now in town in those hotels, because they will send you business if they know you're there. They might want a little kickback or something if they do, but that's just the cost of doing business. You know, it's definitely worth it to have a card in those racks.
I suppose I could give them a book as a tip.
So Kelly has a question, and I'm going to put it up here. And
question.
You first.
How did you start in the book selling world? Well, I'm a binder and a
learning training
to be a conservator. One of my dreams is to have a used/antique bookstore with the kids in school full time now, and it runs off the end. It says full time now. I'm finding on my mind more. So Felix.
Well, I don't know what, I mean, the States, I don't know what to do. For years, I've never had the store. I've done it online, but learn as much as you can. I mean, learn everything about conserving books. I mean, it's a great trade. Binding is a fabulous business in the sense, a spiritual business for me is binding. I love binding, as Todd does as well. Binding is something very spiritual for me because I'm giving life to a book that's dead, and it's going to last another few hundred years because I have intervened to save it. That's how I look at it. It's a wonderful, I love doing it. And so I get a book that's tatty and hopeless and ready for the dump. And I say, no, I revive that. I give it new, whatever it requires, new covers, new life, whatever. And so I love binding. Learn to bind. I say, learn to bind. And then collect. But find something that you like collected, whether it's miniatures or whether it's first editions of James Bond or whether it's first editions of Shakespeare or whatever it is, collect.
I'll tell you my story on how I got in there. Well, I'll give you the condensed version. I was going to college. I left New York. I had two friends that had a rare book business that was in a store called the Paperback Book Shack in Hempstead, Long Island, New York, behind the old A&S store. It was a kind of landmark bookstore. Through osmosis, coming in and out of town during my first couple of semesters in college before I dropped out, my friends would ask me business questions because I was always the business guy in the group. And I would talk to them and, say, what do you mean? You're telling me you go out to this garage sale and you buy a book for $25 and you sell it for 10 or 20 bucks or a couple of hundred or more if you got really lucky. Sounds interesting. Let me know how it goes, this, that, and the other. Well, one day after a while, I learned the vernacular of the trade by reading the A.B. Bookman's Weekly when we all got together in one of our friends' basements, shooting pool, drinking, and other things that you would do in the 60s. I learned the vocabulary of the trade through playing a game with them. Let me see. There's usually here. This is an old one. This is an old A.B. I would read the description. Well, this is the real old one. This is the Reader's Digest size. I would read them the description of a book with the technicalities, Picasso, the Cubist years, Teg, Bleg, all the abbreviations. And through curiosity, and they have to give me the price of the book. I was the game show moderator. I should have realized what was happening then, And anyway, so as time went on, I learned it. One day we were in town. One of my friends didn't drive and the other one did. I was a partner for the day. We went out and bought a book called The Old Fire Laddies of New York and Brooklyn. We paid $5 for it in early 70s dollars, which was a lot of money back then. We sold it for 75 bucks when we got back to their shop. There was a fire department buff there. And in essence, with a lot of details left out to protect the innocent, things like that. That's how I got started. And what I realized about it was it's something that's really interesting. It's totally unmasterable in a lifetime. And I accepted the challenge. I worked in hotels, and it was a hobby business until it grew into a business over the years. I mean, I'm celebrating just about 50 years, maybe my 51st, if I count accurately, in the book business. That's how it started, though, Kelly, through osmosis, you know. If you spoke to a couple of friends of mine that hadn't seen me in all those years, and they said, you said to them, Steve Eisenstein is a rare book dealer. You know, well, I think they might have had other thoughts about the way my life would have gone.
Kelly says, I agree about binding being spiritual for sure, Alex. Felix, sorry. That and conservation work is by far my most favorite thing ever, and I consider myself so lucky to be able to do it for a living. Ireland is on our travel list, and adding your store to the list, to the list too. So you can expect, in addition to the rest of us here at the Rare Book Cafe, you can expect that Kelly's going to show up on your books on your front step as well.
We don't know when Kelly's going to show up on your front step, but November 23rd, Kelly's going to be on Books on the Bookshelf, and we're going to have a great interview and discussion with her. So I look forward to it, Kelly, and I just want to say this. I'd love to have the kids on towards in one of the segments. We got a lot of time to play with, you know, and it might be fun for them too. Excuse me, I'm getting hiccups.
Todd, how did you become afflicted with antiquarian books?
Oh, that goes back to my early youth. Ma was always a reader, and so there were books around the house. And my father was a menu printer. He printed menus for high-end restaurants. So there was never a time that books and book production was not a part of my life. But as far as collecting, I started seriously pursuing like Victorian novels and whatnot in the early 80s, in my early teens. And the miniature book collecting came out of a chance encounter with the grand dame of miniature books, who just happened to live locally. In 1989, when I graduated from high school, she put on what is still to this day the largest exhibit of miniature books, almost 4,000 volumes she had on display at the big library downtown. And I spent the entire autumn, day after day, just taking in all the variety of miniature books. She had on display from Babylonian clay tablets to medieval manuscripts to incunabulum, up through the 17th and 18th centuries, and then, of course, the myriad of books that came out in the 19th century. And then in the 20th century, we have what we call the Renaissance of miniature books, when fine press printing really kind of took over. And there were literally hundreds of presses putting out high-quality miniature books. So I met her and fell in love with a book that she had written way back in the 1950s. And I went up and introduced myself after a lecture that she had given about her collection, and had wanted to buy this book that she made, but from 1960 to 1989, she sold them all out, and it took me about 20 years to find it. So in the interim, from 1989 to 2009, I was a casual collector of miniature books. I collected other things, the history of printing. I loved local Cleveland area history. I collected a lot of that. But every time I was in a bookstore, I would say, "No, you got a miniature book." And if they knew what it was and they had something that was interesting, I would pick it up. So casually. In 2009, I was at the Akron Antiquarian Book Fair, and there was a copy of the book I had been looking for 20 years waiting for me. So I bought it, and I fell completely in love. And in the past 10 years, I've increased my miniature book library to about 4,000 volumes. So very organic. And in the process of collecting miniature books, I've become a lecturer. I've written dozens of articles for different publications on miniature books, and I became a publisher. The first time someone asked me to speak on miniature books was about 5 years ago, and my thought was, you can talk to somebody and it'll go in one ear and out the other, but if you can put something in their hands that they're going to take home with them, it will leave a longer lasting impression. Maybe down the road in years to come, they'll remember that thing that you gave them, and just like I did after 20 years, become an avid pursuer of, in this case, miniature books. So I printed my own miniature book rather clumsily, and I thought it would be a one-off. I don't have ideas for books. And I passed it out and people liked it. And then after that, now I've got too many ideas for books to pursue them all. So, I mean, that's how I ended up.
A nice problem.
Yeah, like I said, people call me an expert in that, and I never really felt that way. I mean, I guess I know more than the average person, but it's all just been so very organic for me. It's just what I do. So,
well,
if I can do it, anybody can.
Unfortunately, we have come to the end of our time here. And if only we would come to the end of the rainbow as well. But but I want to thank Todd, and I want to thank Felix for spending some time with us, sharing your knowledge with us. And I can see from my monitor that I'm on screen, but I want to tell you, I can't see that on my control board because it is running considerably slower than I would have expected. So if any of the some of the images didn't make any sense on the screen, we can only blame the gremlins and the leprechauns who have gotten into the system and have been working the system. But
it's the leprechauns. Wayne's World, leprechauns.
But in any case, I want to thank you, Todd, and thank you, Felix, for joining us today. And I want to thank everybody who joined in on our discussion and who were out there just being part of the audience and watching us. And we will be back next week. We will be here at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. That's a different time than we might have otherwise expected to be because the time changes. So just bear that in mind. Our time changed. I think Felix changed yesterday or last week. Okay. And our time is changing tomorrow. And so we will be on an hour earlier, although it'll still be the same time at 2:30. So just keep that in mind. And
does that mean we wake up more tired or less tired on Monday?
you get an extra hour. A lot of that has to do with your lifestyle. You get an extra hour to spend any way you wish. And if you choose to spend that hour in a way that will make it harder for you to get up on Monday, then that is up to you.
Just need the candle wick in the middle.
I'm going to sign off here and let you gentlemen just talk until the light goes out, and maybe there will be an opportunity to run the credits here, which is what I'm.
Yes, indeed. Well, great talking to you guys as always. Very nice, Todd, to meet you. Marvelous. Looking forward to seeing your collection. And Steve, you're looking well. I love the goatee.
Thank you very much. The Fu Manchu. I clipped the goatee the other day, but you know, it's funny when you look at a mirror and you look on camera, you see two different things, and the camera never lies. So what is the mirror doing?
Indeed.
Well,
really
thanks
happy.
for having me on. It's always a pleasure. And Felix, I want to commend you on opening a bookstore. One of our venerable bookstores in Akron just closed after about 70 years of being in business. It's really a hard thing to take to see these great places gone. So it's an encouragement to see a great place opening.
I got to tell you, Todd, with bookstores these days, every year when the Yellow Pages comes out, I always look to see, you know, who's in there, you know, and under, you know, used, rare, or whatever word they want to use for it. One year, I guess it was about 2 years ago, I looked at 21 phone numbers. Nobody had box ads. There were a couple of 1-800 numbers. You know, they want to, you know, hunt for books here too. Great.
Right,
but
right.
Every one of the other ones was out of business. By the time they sent in their ad, you know, their phone number, and by the time the book came out, not one of those phone numbers was working. So it's really a funny business, brick and mortar these days. I know I had a store on Collins Avenue. I was extremely lucky because we had a very sympathetic landlord, and my rent was, you know, for 13 years, it never made it more than $350 a month, and I was on the main drag on Collins Avenue in Miami Beach. Anyway, are we still lit? I see the screen went dark. Ciao for now, guys.
Okay.
Felix, Todd,